ASAP Rocky so emotional after RiRi's confession. The rain hadn't stopped all evening. It tapped against the tall glass windows of the Manhattan penthouse like restless fingers, a steady rhythm that filled the silence between them. The city below buzzed with life, taxis weaving through traffic, distant sirens, the glow of Times Square flickering against the low clouds, but inside, everything felt still. ASAP Rocky stood near the window, hands tucked into the pockets of his black trousers, jaw tight. The skyline of New York City stretched endlessly before him, but his mind wasn't on the city, it was on her. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed across the marble floor. He didn't turn at first. He knew that walk. He'd recognize it anywhere, in a crowded room, across a festival stage, in the middle of a storm. Rihanna paused a few feet behind him. Rocky. Her voice wasn't steady. That's what made him turn. Her eyes were glossy, not just watery, glossy, like she had been holding something heavy inside her for too long. His expression shifted instantly. What's wrong?" he asked, stepping closer. She swallowed. Her fingers twisted together. For someone who commanded stadiums and shut down fashion weeks without blinking, she looked small in that moment, vulnerable. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. Rocky's heartbeat quickened. He tried to smile. "You're scaring me." She let out a breath that trembled. "I've been pretending I'm okay." The words landed softly, but they hit like thunder. He blinked. "Pretending?" She nodded, eyes dropping to the floor. "You know how strong everyone thinks I am, how unshakable." She laughed faintly, but it cracked halfway through. "But sometimes, I'm tired of being the strong one." Rocky's chest tightened. He stepped closer, reaching for her hands. "You don't have to be strong with me." Her eyes met his. "That's the thing," she said, tears finally spilling over. "I didn't know if I could let myself not be." He felt that sentence deep in his bones. She continued, voice fragile but honest. "I've been scared, Rocky. Scared of failing. Scared of not living up to everything. The brand, the music, the expectations. Being a mom, being a partner, being perfect." She shook her head. "I don't always feel perfect." He stared at her like she'd just shattered something sacred, because in his eyes, she had always been invincible. "I thought if I showed cracks," she whispered, "you might see me differently." The silence that followed was thick, and then Rocky's composure broke. His breathing became uneven. You think I love you because you're perfect?" His voice cracked. "You think that's what this is?" She looked startled. Tears welled in his eyes now, real, unfiltered emotion. He ran a hand over his face, trying to hold it together, but he couldn't. "You're human," he said, his voice trembling. "You're allowed to break. You're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to not have it all together." She stared at him, stunned by the intensity in his voice. "I see you," he continued. "Not the icon, not the headlines, not the boss. I see the woman who laughs too loud at her own jokes. The one who stays up at 3 a.m. thinking about everyone else before herself." His voice cracked harder. "And I love that woman." A tear slipped down his cheek. He didn't even wipe it away. "You think I don't get scared too?" he whispered. "You think I don't wake up wondering if I'm enough for you?" Her breath caught. "I've stood on stages in front of thousands," he said, "but nothing scares me more than the idea of losing you because you thought you had to carry everything alone." Rihanna's shoulders began to shake. She stepped forward, pressing her forehead against his chest. "I didn't want to burden you," she sobbed softly. He wrapped his arms around her, instantly, holding her tighter than he ever had before. "You could never be a burden," he said, voice breaking completely now. "You're my home." The rain outside intensified, as if echoing the emotion in the room. For the first time that night, Rocky let himself fully feel it. The fear, the love, the relief. He pulled back slightly, cupping her face. "Promise me something," he said. She nodded through tears. "Promise me you'll never hide your pain from me again. Even if it's messy, even if it's ugly." She sniffled, managing a faint smile. "It's going to be messy." He let out a soft, emotional laugh. "Good," he said. "I don't want polished, I want real." She touched his face gently. "You're crying," she whispered. "Yeah," he admitted, not even embarrassed. "Because I hate that you ever felt alone." That's when she broke completely. Not from sadness, but from relief. For years, the world had seen her strength, but tonight she let him see her softness, and he showed her his. They stood there for what felt like hours, wrapped in each other, the city lights blurring beyond the glass. Finally, she pulled back slightly. I'm not perfect, she said again. He shook his head. I don't want perfect, he replied. I want you. She leaned in and kissed him. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just slow and certain. The kind of kiss that says, I trust you. The kind of kiss that says, I'm staying. As the rain softened into a gentle drizzle, the tension in the room lifted. Rocky rested his forehead against hers. We build this together, he murmured. Every fear, every dream, every crack. She nodded. Together. And in that quiet penthouse, above the restless heartbeat of New York City, perfection didn't matter anymore. What mattered was honesty. What mattered was love. And for the first time that night, neither of them felt alone. The night air over Los Angeles felt different. From the balcony of their sprawling hilltop home, the city lights shimmered like a galaxy beneath the dark sky. The world outside was loud. Flashing cameras, screaming fans, endless headlines. But inside the house, everything was still. Too still. ASAP Rocky stood alone in the living room, his fingers loosely wrapped around a glass of water he hadn't touched. He wasn't thinking about music, not about fashion, not about business deals. He was thinking about her. Rihanna, Riri to the world. The woman who had redefined music. The woman who had built empires. The woman who somehow still looked at him like he was the only person in the room. But tonight, something was different. He heard her footsteps. Behind him. Slow, careful, heavy. He turned. Rihanna stood at the edge of the hallway, her silhouette framed by the soft golden light. Her usual confidence, that effortless, untouchable aura, wasn't there. Her eyes were glossy. Her lips trembled slightly. Rocky's chest tightened instantly. "Ri?" he asked softly. "What's wrong?" She didn't answer at first. Instead, she walked toward him, each step carrying something unspoken, something fragile. When she finally reached him, she didn't look up. "I need to tell you something," she whispered. And just like that, his heartbeat doubled. The confession. She took a deep breath. "You know I don't show everything," she began. "The world thinks I'm strong all the time. They think nothing gets to me." Rocky gave a faint smile. "You are strong." She shook her head. "No, I act strong." That hit him differently. She looked up at him now, and the vulnerability in her eyes made his throat tighten. "Rocky, I've been scared." "Scared of what?" "Of losing you." The words were soft, barely above a whisper, but they echoed through him like thunder. He blinked. "Losing me? Rih, what are you talking about?" She swallowed. "I see the headlines, the rumors, the pressure, the way people analyze every move we make. Sometimes I wake up and I wonder if this is all too much. If one day you'll get tired of it, of me, of us." Rocky stepped back as if the words physically struck him. "Tired of you?" he repeated, his voice cracking slightly. "Rihanna, do you know who you are?" She nodded slowly. "That's the problem. Everyone knows who I am, but they don't know how I feel." The silence between them grew thick. "I've been carrying this fear for months," she admitted, smiling through it, working through it, but inside, "I've been terrified that the world will take you from me." The break in his voice. Something inside Rocky shattered, not anger, not frustration, pain. He set the glass down with trembling hands. "You think I'd leave?" he asked quietly. She didn't respond. That silence was answer enough, and that's when it happened. His composure broke, his eyes filled before he could stop it. His jaw tightened as he tried to hold himself together, the cool, confident Rocky the world always saw. But this wasn't a stage. This wasn't an interview. This was love. "Ri." His voice cracked fully now. "I've spent my whole life trying to build something real, something solid. And when I found you, I stopped searching." A tear slid down his cheek. He didn't wipe it away. "You're not something I'd walk away from. You're everything I prayed." Her breathing hitched. "I don't care about the headlines. I don't care about the noise. I care about you, about us. That's it." His chest rose and fell unevenly now. "You think I don't get scared?" he admitted. "You're Rihanna. The whole world loves you. Sometimes I wonder if I'm enough." Now it was her turn to look stunned. "You?" she whispered. "Yeah, me." He ran a hand over his face, trying to steady himself. Failing. "I'm emotional because I hate that you've been carrying this alone. I hate that you felt like you couldn't tell me." Walls fall down. The strong rapper persona was gone. The confident superstar image, gone. All that stood in front of her now was a man in love, raw, exposed, unguarded. He stepped closer, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. You don't ever have to be strong with me, he said softly. Not for the world, not for anyone. She started crying again. Not loud sobs, but deep, aching tears. I didn't want to seem weak, she admitted. You could never be weak. He pulled her into his arms, and that's when he truly broke. His shoulders shook slightly as he held her. Years of pride, ego, and carefully built image dissolved in seconds. He buried his face against her hair. I love you, he said, voice trembling. More than the music, more than the fame, more than anything. The words weren't dramatic. They weren't rehearsed. They were desperate, honest. She clutched his shirt, holding him just as tightly. I love you too, the aftermath. They stood there for what felt like hours, wrapped in each other, the world outside forgotten. Eventually, they sat on the couch, still holding hands. Rocky wiped his face, laughing softly through lingering tears. Man, you got me emotional. She smiled through hers. You always act so tough. I'm not tough when it comes to you. The confession had done something unexpected. It hadn't created distance. It had destroyed it. For the first time in months, there were no hidden fears. No silent worries, just honesty. Promise me something, she said. Anything. If I ever start holding things in again, don't let me. He squeezed her hand. Deal, but you gotta promise me the same. She nodded. Outside, the city kept moving. Headlines would continue, cameras would flash, but inside that house, something shifted forever. Love stopped being something they performed for the world. It became something they protected. And as the night stretched on, Rocky looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something powerful. The strongest thing a man could do wasn't to hide his emotions. It was to feel them. And in that quiet room with tears still drying on his cheeks, ASAP Rocky wasn't a superstar. He was just a man who refused to lose the woman he loved.